أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected enemy Shaitan. With Allah's name, the most merciful benefactor, the most merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah alone. We praise Him and we seek help from Him. And I bear witness, there is no deity except Allah alone. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His messenger, His servant to mankind. He's Allah's servant and He's the messenger to mankind. We are in the beautiful month of Ramadan, and we thank Almighty Allah for blessing us to be in the month of Ramadan and for instructing us to fast during this month. Today we were looking at the Quran, a guide for social reform. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, He says, ذَلِكَ كِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And that this is a book, it's a guide in Ayat 2, this is the book. This is the book. Not just a book. This is the book. In it is guidance, sure, without doubt, for those who fear Allah. And then it goes on and says, and who believe in the unseen and are steadfast in prayer and spend out of what has been provided for them. And it talks about guidance, That's basically the answer to social reform. But before we travel into that concept of social reform, we want to look at something else that Allah says in the Quran, and He says it in a way that when you read it, really read the in-depth of it, you begin to see how impactful the statement is, and how forceful this statement is, and how complete, all in all, the statement is. In the Quran, Allah says He began everything simply by saying, kun fayakun. Now, many times we take that sort of like, oh, okay, that's how the creation started. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. Why is it more than that? Because it's more than we can consume. We can't comprehend it all. So it's more than what we are comprehending, but what we do comprehend, we have some benefit from. Kun fayakun means that there was nothing before there was time. We can't comprehend before time. We can't comprehend before time or any kind of existence. But Allah says, out of that, He called the creation. He commanded the creation. He commanded the creation to come into existence. Not asked the creation, not made a proposition to the creation. If you come into existence, I will give you more stars. I will give none of that. He said, kun. And that's come out, come now. Kun, fire kun. And it existed. It came. It began moving out of the darkness, traveling in the space, all of the universe. And everything in that space, everything in that creation was commanded into existence. Everything, including you and I. You and I didn't get here on our own. We didn't suddenly say, you know what? I think I want to try to get my mother hooked up with my father and get me on this planet. Let me start doing something, see what I can do. It wasn't nothing like that. You had no choice in the matter. You had no choice in the matter, but you're here at the mercy of Allah. From that initial saying, kun, you was on your way. When he said kun, you was on your way. Kun, and nothing could stop it from that point. When he said kun, there's nothing that can stop it, because there is nothing. Except the kun coming into existence. Kun, like kun. And here we are. Here we are. We are here by the creator of all that you see. And in this creation, he says to us, I have created you in order that you can make a garden, a paradise, out of the paradise I created for you. And if you do that and you follow guidance, I will give you another paradise. When Allah is talking about the paradises that he has created for man, he's talking about Ardi. You know, in the earth, Ardi, talking about the earth. The earth has in it things you cannot see. When Allah said kun, fayakun, the earth coming into existence had in it things that could not be seen even if you had eyes at the time. When we look back at history, man agrees with that point. Man looks back, he didn't know what was in the earth. He didn't know iron was there. He didn't know iron ore was there. He didn't know fire was in the wood, in the trees. He didn't know any of that. But it was there. And it was there at the command of the Creator. It says, kun, all of it, he said, the whole earth, the fire that's in the wood, the iron ore that's in the ground, and the diamonds and the oil come into existence. Because I'm bringing something behind you that I want to be able to use you to make another creation. This is what Allah is saying. So as man began to look at the creation, he began to see this creation is something. He began to learn from the creation. Allah says he taught man. He taught Adam everything. Do you think that the man just came out of nowhere and started building airplanes and started flying on his own? One day, man woke up and said, I'm going to build an airplane, I'm going to make it fly, I'm going to go all around the world. No. Allah taught man in generations how to fly, the importance of flying. Just by watching the bird, it began to initiate ideas and concepts in the mind of man from generation to generation. And then what did that do? That then caused man to use that very important thing that Allah created in him. That very important thing. The mind. The mind. The creation of the mind will go down if man records it, but it goes down in the Quran as the crown of the creation. The creation of the mind was what was necessary to bring out of the earth, the garden, that which is in it, from water to fire, to smoke, to steel, to iron ore, everything that came into existence had to come into existence through the mind. The mind is the other garden that Allah says he created us with. The garden, what garden is that? Your brain, your mind, where your intellect is, where your imagination comes from, what came into existence, even when it wasn't existing in the world, real world. But it was in your mind. When you think of ideas and concepts, you are beginning to use the quality that Allah had given us, the quality of creation. You know, there's some of the social scientists and great orators and great advanced teachers in success talk about the power of the mind. They say if you think, you can achieve. You are what you think. You are what you think. If you are thinking and you find yourself in life in a position that you're unfavorable with, or you don't like, or you like to make better, it is up to you. Because when Allah said kun, fayakun, He put it in you to make those decisions to be what you want it to be. And He also put in the Quran that oppression is worse than slaughter, which means that if a person oppresses you from being what you want to be, that's worse than slaughter. So it's all in your imagination as to where you want to ascend to. It's all in your power as to where you want to ascend to. There is no excuse. Allah says there is no excuse. Shaitan has no power over you. Allah says this in the Quran. So your goals and your objectives are up to you. Where you want to stop in life is your choice. Where you want to keep going in life is your choice. When Allah said kun, fayakun, He was commanding you to move forward until He calls you back to the grave. He was commanding you to come into existence and do everything you possibly could with this creation to benefit yourself and others. That was a command from the very beginning. It didn't just come in of the advent of the Quran. It didn't just come in year 2018. When Allah said kun, it was in order. Kun, fire, kun. You were commanded to be everything in life you possibly can be that your imagination could bring you to. This is what Allah was saying. He created you for that reason. If He did not want man to excel and ascend, He would have left man like the trees. You don't see the trees getting up and going to the moon. You don't see the rocks coming up out of the ground and say, oh look, we want to change the whole order of things. We don't want the rocks to be in the ground no more. We want to do something else. Man, you get in the ground. We be the leader. They don't have that power. Birds don't even have the power to change places with man. Why they don't have that power? Because Allah didn't create them with that power. He created man with that power. He created man with the power to do things. When this proposal was made to all of the creation, the mountains, all of the creation said, we can't handle that. We can't handle that. But because man had belief more than knowledge. See, man didn't have a knowledge of he could fly. Man didn't have a knowledge on how to sail around the earth. Man didn't have a knowledge of those things. But he believed it. This is why the Quran says in his ignorance, man took the responsibility. Meaning that man took it before he had knowledge on how to manipulate it. That's what the Quran called ignorant. It don't mean that man is ignorant without like dumb. But it means man didn't have the knowledge on to do what he was embarking on to do. But he did it anyhow. Why did man do that? Why did Quran, Allah put in the Quran to show us why man would do that? Because man had faith. And faith is a driving force. Faith is a driving force to cause you to move. If you have faith in any idea you have, everything in you will take second place to that faith. And whatever it is, if you got an idea and you have faith in that idea, everything in you will begin to submit to that power of your faith. If you need more education, you would go get more education. If you need more skills, you would go get more skills. Whatever you would need, you would go do it because you have faith that Allah created you when He said, kun fayakun, to be everything you possibly can be. And your being It's not measured by another man's being. Your being is measured by the potential that the Lord put in you. You alone are your own measuring stick. You alone are your own method on what you should be. No one else. So when Allah is talking to us, He is telling us, don't let anyone oppress what I put in you. If they oppress what I put in you, they would have been better off killing you physically. Because I put in you to aspire, to make this beautiful garden come alive, to make this living earth with that trees and rocks and rivers and all of that earth, all of that beautiful earth. He put in you to make the changes. He put in you to bring the rocks out the ground. He put in you to bring the rocks and break them down and bring the fire out the wood and make the fire come against the rocks and tell a whole new element to come into existence. He put all that in you. All of it. And there are many people who are taking advantage of this. And they will tell you and me, oh, we'll show you how to do this. You don't need to know that. You don't need to think of great things. That if an idea comes in your mind, that's too big for you. You have to have faith that your Lord would not put nothing in your mind, your imagination that you could not handle. That He's not torturing you. Allah is not about torturing His creation. He could create us dumb. He didn't have to create us like he did, but He created us as evidence of this beautiful creation and as evidence of Him. You may not be able to see Him in the physical sense. You may not be able to touch or talk with Him in that way, but your very existence testifies that there's something greater than you that brought you into existence. Because the lesser cannot produce the greater. The greater has to produce everything, whether you see it or not. When you say Allahu Akbar, you say Allah is bigger, Allah is greater than the creation. And that is what you have to rest your laurels on. Your faith, your belief. It has to be in you. You have to have faith in the potential that Allah has put in you. There's no amount of preaching that can do that. There's no amount of preaching can help you do whatever Allah has put in you. There's no amount of reading the Quran that can do that. There's nothing can do that except you. He gave you the soul power of your own being. He gave you the soul power to be inspired by whatever you choose to be inspired by. He gave you the soul power to stop when you wanted to stop. He gave you the soul power to start up again if you wanted to start up. He gave you the soul power to go to your grave learning and trying to do things that the grave don't even keep you back. And it gave you the soul power to leave some of the things that you came into existence to others, to your children, to other people. So in the hadith you will find, it said, what is the best thing that a person can do? Who is the best? What's the best community? What's the best kind of person? What's the best conduct? The one who serves society. The one who serves the community. And do you know, this was 1,400 years ago when the Quran was revealed. But some of the great scholars of success and knowledge, they talk in terms of, they say that you must be able to follow the guidance that's blueprinted in you. Now this is what they found out. Some of these scholars, and I don't know if all of them read the Quran or not, I sort of think they did. They had to have some, if people are learned and they're scholarly, they're going to read the Quran because the Quran is a scholarly book. Although it's designed for the common man. It's not designed for the intellect by itself. It's designed for the intellect, the brother who's just starting to read, or one who just have faith. That's what it's designed for. But some of these great scholars and educators of success say that the idea of being successful has to be one idea that comes from inside. And once you get that idea, and once you get the concept of that idea, then you have to develop the discipline. And one of them said, even if you know the science of all of creation, if you know the science of how you can better your life, how you can better others, what you must have is self-discipline. Isn't that beautiful? The greatest scientists of success on earth, Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, the ones that everyone else learned their things from, they say that self-discipline on all of the things is a must. Now, I'm not saying they didn't come up with that idea by themselves. I just don't believe that. Because Allah said over 1,400 years ago that He has said for you to fast. Fasting is prescribed for you. Fasting is prescribed for you. That's medicine. Fasting, medicine for what? Medicine for your soul? Medicine for your physical health? No, it's medicine to help you do what you have to achieve. Fasting is prescribed for you. Why? Because it would teach self-restraint. What is self-restraint? Discipline. Self-discipline. 1,400 years ago, Allah gave us the very principle of how to be successful in the Quran. And there are men and women who follow this principle. Now, I'm not saying, again, that they didn't read Quran. I just believe they did. Because we get it from the Quran. And it's the same Quran that was revealed 1,400 years ago. And it's the same one everybody had the opportunity, the learned people, to be able to read. So I think the learned people read it. Or read through it, at least the English part. But the key, and to make it, pull it together, Allah says self-restraint, self-discipline will cause you to be successful in whatever you're going to try to do, whatever you imagine. And don't let your imagination, don't put a harness on your imagination. Don't stop your imagination. If you get a dream, let yourself know, your conscious mind know that Allah is God. And if Allah put a dream in your mind, trust in that dream. Have the faith that's necessary to that dream to come alive. Don't bury it in the dark confines of ignorance and fear and lack of belief. Let the light, the sunshine and light of truth, courage, inspiration, let that shine on your idea and shine on your dream. The important aspect that Allah says, that said in Hadith, that when you are in that position and you realize that you're capable of doing things, who is the best at achieving? Now you're achieving. You're doing all of these things that you can do. Who is the best? How do you conduct the best? How do you look at the best? Allah said the best is the one who's most worthy to the society. Most worthy to the society. They took all that Allah has given them and been able to give back. Give back in such a way that society now grows and develops. And don't you know that's one of the very principles of a lot of these great people you read about and hear about in terms of success? They say you must be able to give. If you are not able to give, you can't grow. This is the way they put it there, that you cannot grow if you can't give. If you cannot give, you cannot grow. Quran is a very powerful book. The Quran is a very powerful book. It has all of this in it and more. The only thing that can stop us from seeing what's in the Quran is that we don't read it. If we read it constantly, over and over, things are going to be revealed to us. Understand that this Quran was revealed to man by the Creator who said, kun, fayakun. So that tells you that you may not be able to comprehend the whole Quran just during the month of Ramadan, even though you read all the juices. That doesn't mean you comprehending all what was in the Quran. Allah blesses whom He will, whom He pleases with what He wills. You may understand something this year that you didn't know and feel and understand last year. You may understand next year something you don't understand this year. Do you think we just come to these ideas, all of a sudden we have them all? No, none of us do. All of us start from base one. And Allah makes us understand that because when you see babies come in, that's the way you came in the world. You didn't come in with a scholarship on your brain or a dictionary in your mind. You didn't come in reciting Quran. When you came out your mother's womb, all of us, we came out our mother's womb crying, trying to get a breath of air. We was looking for life. We was looking for life to maintain our existence. We didn't even know we was doing that, but we was trying to maintain our existence. We didn't say, no, we don't want to deal with that. No, we came out looking for air. The first time we breathed, don't know what air is. Have no concept of the idea. But we look for it because once we got it in us, it began to cause us to generate. Now we begin to understand air is good. Then we begin to understand nursing from our mother is good. Feeding, then we begin to understand everything out here is good. Allah was showing us good. He didn't start us off showing us bad. The pain in birth is not by the baby. The mother might have some pain, showing that good things can come in, and those that are living in that it comes in through may have to struggle, may have to move over a little bit. Every time a new person invents something or do something, the others at that station may have to move over a little bit. It may have to cause a little pain, because new life is coming in. And Allah tells us new life come in through pain. So pain is not always an enemy or a bad thing. Pain is an example of a good thing. Some pain. We want to keep our eyes on what Allah is guiding us to do as individuals. And this is the month of Ramadan in which we focus on our individual self. We teach our children to focus on themselves as an individual and their relationship with their Lord. This is what we are trying to do. We're not even as much, which is important, trying to relate to each other, because that's an essential too. But during this month, we do more of our relating and openness to the Creator, to Allah. We're looking for Allah's guidance, Allah to make us better and stronger, give us those aspects that's going to make us contributors to this world, to bring about and to develop the potential that's in ourselves. We want to go through the next year as producers. We want to go through the next year as survivors. We want to go through the next year as people who help the world grow. The world needs to be changed. And it's only going to be changed by people. Don't think that something's going to fall out the sky and suddenly the evil man is gone. I remember a conversation a friend and I used to have quite often. And it was about that very, very aspect. It says if there are people who are evil and mean, why does Allah let them stay in existence? And we used to always talk about the situation in different countries. where these leaders just browbeat their people and rob them. And then suddenly they die and go. See, Allah is the judge. And Allah judges a man all the way. There's a story in the hadith that this person who was so righteous and doing all of the things done right, and when it came down to the Jannah, he was an arm length from the Jannah, not 3 more years or 10 years or 6 years, but just an arm length. That's one step. One step, you take another stride, you in there. And because he changed his thinking in terms of his motivation and what he was going to do, he was doomed for the hellfire. And then the other one, who was doomed for the hellfire, because of all the hell he was raising while he was here, was one step away from the hellfire, an arm's length, and saw in his heart, saw in his soul, that he was wrong. He was wrong his whole life. He saw his faced him. Oh Allah! I'm wrong, and repented, sincerely repented. He entered the Jannah. So what does that tell us? That tells us that when it's in the hadith, when you read the religion is sincerity, that's what it means. Religion is sincerity. The sincerity we have. I may say to you, Assalamu alaikum, and in my mind, I may say, I'm so tired of that brother. Is that sincerity? Or you may say the same to me. Yes, brother Imam, I wish that brother walk out there in front of that car. Sincerity. Religion is sincerity. From the day you say, Ashhadu la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Abduhu Rasulullah, from that day, it's about you being sincere. About you being sincere. And if you stay on the course of sincerity, the Jannah is yours. Allah promised you this. You're the only one that can make that decision. Because it's Allah's mercy. Through Allah's mercy, He said, if you make the decision, I will permit you. That's mercy from Allah. So, we want to take a step forward and remember this day of Ramadan, this week, this month of Ramadan. In bringing the talk to a close and coming to our main point, which is the Quran, and the Quran as being a mercy to man, but more so as a reform, social reform. It's a book for social reform. Social reform, Allah says to how we treat each other. When you read through the Quran, you will find that a relationship, talking about brother believers. It talks about relationships between mothers and children, children and parents. It talks about relationships because the social fabric of the culture is what causes the culture to grow and move forward. And once it moves forward, it is what brings man into a more plentiful existence, or more, let's say, damnable existence. Ruling societies, ruling individuals, they may rule on the basis of their something they got from the past, on the basis of something their forefathers have told them. That may be the way they rule. Do you know when man first started out? Man first started out, it was about tribes. Tribes, families coming together, protecting what they needed for the family, and then the head of the family rules the family. Then as more families got together and begin to form tribes, then they became a ruling person in the tribe. And each ruling person took upon themselves as having the responsibility of directing the tribe, which way the tribe will go. Now, after the tribes, you get communities, huge communities made up of tribes. Then they select governments to run that, or some governments just take over and run that, believing that they could bring man into the harmony that Allah has provided this whole creation to become, this harmony. They believe they could bring about the harmony in their method. So they create, they even say that they base war and call it peace. Because they're trying to establish peace in their mind. They're trying to establish peace so everybody will live in peace. So they conquer a nation. You don't really run the nation right. We're going to show you how to run the nation. So they conquer the nation. And then bring that nation into the submission, its submission. And they call that peace. You read the news, listen to the news, and you will see when the Israelites, for example, or the Israel, they bomb areas in the east. And they say they bombed them because they was trying to keep the peace. Trying to keep the peace. They believe that if you let these people have some weapons that we have, they're going to be waging war. So we can't let them have it. So every time they get ready to put something up, we got to blow it up. That's their method of peace. Allah says they're mischief makers, and they say we're the peacemakers. They claim peace, but they're not peace. America does the same thing. America tortures people. She tortured the slaves. And yet talk about other nations. Those people in charge are charged with all the responsibility that they take in. If a person say, I'm in charge of this room, for example, then they're going to be responsible for that room. I'm in charge of the city, then they're going to be responsible for the city. So Allah holds us all responsible for those things we claim to be in charge. Now, when you read Quran, you get a different version. Because Allah says in Quran that He wants the individual to rule himself. Wants the individual to rule himself based on human excellence, based on his moral consciousness that he gets from this Quran. Every individual, Allah says, has the right to rule himself. Every individual. And this is what Allah says in Quran. But those in charge don't believe in that. Those in charge don't believe people can be morally straight on their own. They believe that we must have the police force watching them. We must have the army to blow them up if they act like, or if I think they're acting like, they're going to do something. That kind of rule is leaving. That kind of rule is leaving the planet and leaving forever. The rule that's coming in place now is the rule of the individual. That does not mean that everybody is all running around like a helter-skelter. What it means that all individuals will be in the same mind frame. All individuals will be thinking about moral consciousness. Individuals will go and think about human excellence, striving for human excellence, and see that as a greater value than the material world. Right now we're running for the material world. It'll be a greater value than the material world. It'll be a love of the Creator. Now some of us believe that can't happen. They say man is too evil for that. See, but maybe, perhaps, the man they talk about is the same man they see in the mirror. Because Allah says that we have the power to get our own individual self together. So if we get ourselves together, then we got to believe that Allah will bring about peace in the world. We've got to believe that because He did it in me. He did it in you. He did it in us. That's what gives us belief in that. What kind of life are we living? That tells us whether we have confidence in this or not. If you hear people talking about they don't have confidence in this world is all evil, all this, if you watch them, watch their lives, watch how they speak to people, watch how they treat each other, then you may get a good idea why they think that way. You may get a real good idea why they think that way. But you watch people who treat each other kindly, treat people fairly. Everybody think good of them. Those kind of people's view of the world generally is a good view. Because they believe whatever's going on in the world can change to be what they are, to be good. So our greatest reformer is Quran. The Quran reforms us from all the other kind of lives we live into the kind of life that Allah has commanded us to be in. When He said, kun, fayakun. That's the power of this Quran. It will reshape us, reform us. But we have to believe. We have to believe in the peace itself. We have to believe in the existence itself is the basis of peace. That when you say, Assalamu alaikum, you're talking about the peace that comes from the very beginning, the very root of this creation, all the way through the thousands and billions and trillions of years of existence. When you say Assalamu alaikum. And the only reply you could make is Wa alaikum assalam. Because that's the one piece. It's the same as when you, in this month of Ramadan, if a brother says to you, or sister, says, Ramadan Mubarak. And in Islam, we know if somebody gives you a greeting, you have to give them an equal greeting, or one better. And sometimes we hear people say, Ramadan Kareem. But Ramadan Kareem is not a greeting that's equal. It's not even equal to Ramadan Mubarak. It means noble. It means, Kareem means noble. But Mubarak is the peace and blessings from Allah. That's what that means. Ramadan Mubarak, you asked him, may you have the peace and blessings that Allah can give. That's the highest. You can reply with that if a person says, Ramadan Kareem. You can say Ramadan Mubarak. Correct reply. But we just have to study these things. We study them and we see. And once we see, then we understand the responsibility to recall, the responsibility to respond, the responsibility to do everything in this creation. However you look at that responsibility, it's on us as an individual. It is on you. So we thank Almighty Allah for blessing us to be here in this month of Ramadan. Rabbina atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Our Lord, give us the best of this world and of the hereafter, and protect us on fire. Amen. He comments. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah.